Start with the arms. So we're going to do some sustained stretching and some compression, and then a little bit more detailed work on the lines. So in starting the arms, what we usually do is we come down and we're going to start with a sustained stretch to open up the shoulder and the elbow and the wrist. And a lot of times with this sustained stretch, they get a little fascial burning. Well, one thing I've been adding along with the sustained stretch, once you take the slack out, is just a slow rotation up with the palm to help uncoil the arm. Okay, Alicia? You feel any burning at all?
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's a little flame.
Yeah.
Okay, and then release. It's amazing what just sustained stretching does. The way it engages the fascia and opens up the joints and gives a little length to the muscle. So after stretch, we're going to come up like this, and we use the palm of our hand just on the inside of the head of the humerus so that we're engaging the upper fibers of pec major. So we're going to press back and down and keep that compression as we mobilize the shoulder over. So we start compressing and opening up the shoulder joint a little bit. You like it? Awesome. Okay, compression, yeah. And then we just put the arm down and we'll just do some gentle compression. So this stationary, and then we're just going to compress here. And again, like before, compressing on the exhale. One thing with this compression in this upper arm here, and I mean this space between the head of the humerus and the elbow, is along with this compression, I've been doing this compression where I use the palm of my hand and I'm compressing the muscle this way as I bring the lower arm down, and what happens is it uncoils a couple of other muscles. You know, we see a lot of shoulder forwardness in our work, right? And that's attuned a lot to some sort of postural deviation from whatever we're doing. And when we're trying to loosen this, we think about the pec a lot, particularly pec minor, because of its attachment on the coracoid process. And because pec minor is a short, powerful muscle, and its attachment on the coracoid process, when it tightens, it brings the shoulder forward. That's one of the factors. But there's two other muscles that attach to the coracoid process. And one is the coracobrachialis, which is in between the bicep and the tricep, and also the short head of the biceps brachii. They all attach here. So we address these two muscles, the coracobrachialis and the short head of the bicep brachii, by engaging them with the palm of our hand down towards the mat, and then bringing this lower arm down. So what it's doing is loosening it and uncoiling it, taking the pressure off its connection at the coracoid process. So I like to see you add a little of that. You feel a little of that? And then we take the compression down to the wrist. So you can either continue to compress with your palms of your hands, or else you can use your knee, which I like, because we're all body workers and we like some nice compression into our forearms. So either knee. And again, just like when you're using your foot, it's a nice controlled motion from here so that you can regulate the pressure. So it's a nice controlled movement. And then when we get to the wrist crease, we want to spend a little time here, because not only of the compression that happens here, but also the strain from hyperextension. So I'm just going to add a little thumb movement here, some really nice, a little deeper circular friction, and then I'm going to press up into the joint to open it up a little bit. So I'm going to take my hands and slip them behind here, and I'm going to take my thumbs and press up into the joint. So it opens up those carpals a little bit. And then just a little compression into the hand. And then we're going to work the hand individually. So thumb. And there's a nice acupressure point here I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. If you take the thumb and move it towards the index finger, you'll see this crease here. And at the top of the crease, if you place your thumb there and direct the pressure towards the index finger, there's an acupressure point there, large intestine 4. You feel that way?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Feel it in your large intestine.
that deep. This point is called the Great Eliminator because of its association. It has a reflex arc to the large intestine meridian. So it helps with not only physical constipation, but also the line itself affects the mind. So it's also used for mental constipation. So if people are up in their heads or you all are just like, this is a good point. It helps dissipate the energy.
Good headache point.
It's a headache point also, sure. So you work the fingers, however you all work the fingers. I'm interested in more that you do some nice traction to open up the joints. And then we're going to do some compression of the arm in this position. So now the palm is down. And we're just going to take support here. So one hand on their hand and the other hand on the head of the humerus. And I'm just going to lean in and do some compression. And take that compression right into the area of the arm that has the extensors. And then right into the side of the arm. Now it's interesting, like, you can do all sorts of interesting things here. I mean, you can use your foot actually quite well here. Right? Because you have the beauty of it being supported by the mat. That pressure's okay, Alicia. And I keep my heel on the ground so I can leverage that pressure into the arm. Right, and you can just continue that compression right up to the shoulder. If you like working on the floor more, after some initial compression, you can use your knee. Okay. And in this area, it's a little tricky to come onto the knee, so what I've started doing is just placing my knee here and moving the arm towards. They get some really nice compression that way. Okay. And then the last thing is just a little general loosening here of the pec major. So you want to try to figure out some way where you can, it's hard for me to look. It's somewhere where you can position yourself to do a little sustained pressure here. So there's a couple of ways of doing it. So there's this one way where you can turn your head this way, that way. I don't want you to see this. You could do the same position where you're like this, and you just, that pressure's okay?
Mm-hmm.
So easy. Right, that's the palm of your hand over the head of the humerus, and the heel of your hand is addressing the soft tissue. So it's right there, and then you can just come in like this, and you can have some nice sustained pressure. The other way I was doing it was this way, coming off and doing it this way. So I'm going to use my forearm, and I'm going to come on the inside of the humerus, right in the soft tissue, and simply come in like this. Is that okay? Easy that way too. So come over here if you can't see. So the angle is such that here's the head of the humerus, here's the soft tissue, and you want to make sure that you're below the clavicle. So here's our clavicle, there's the humerus, and you want to come right into the soft tissue. And if you come at it from this angle, you can use the flat of your forearm and just sink right in there and it holds some nice sustained pressure. It's okay still? Okay, cool. Okay.